Okay, so in this video I will show you how to use all these different softwares that are for Pali study or Tipitaka reading. This video is a follow-up on an earlier video that I made where I explained how to install all these on your computer. So I made separate videos for how to install it on Mac computers and how to install it in Windows. Now, whether you are using a Mac or a Windows, this video will be covering both devices. So one by one I'll be explaining how to use these. So if you haven't installed them yet, all of these, then first you might want to watch that video. There will be a link in the description below. So let's start with the websites here. The Suta Central Legacy website. Or actually, let's start with this one, the Suta Central Progressive Web App. So if you have a Mac computer, then you can unfortunately not use it offline. But since here I'm using a Windows, we can make use of the offline function. So one more time, just as a brief explanation, at this moment you can only use the suttas offline and only one language at a time. So for me, I downloaded the English translation files, so I can use any kind of suttas with the English translations offline. So see, now I'm offline here. So in order to set it up properly, we can go to any sutta, and then what you have to understand is that there are many different translations. So here you can see two English translations, one by Bhante Sujato, one by Bhikkhu Bodhi, but only the one with Bhikkhu Sujato, which is translated by the Venerable Sujato, only these have the special functions that I'm going to show you now. There are also many other translations in all kinds of languages, but they are not available offline. So for them you would have to go online. Then here, addition of the root text, that is for the Pali, if you just want to read the Pali. And then the parallels, I will get to this later. So let's open Ajahn Sujato's translation. Now I had already activated the other functions, so normally if you open it, it will look like this. You can hide the menu bar by clicking on the menu, so this looks a bit nicer. So now you see this just English. And if you go here to the text settings, then you have some other options here. You can have a side-by-side view, line-by-line, and pop-up view. Before we continue, let's activate the Pali word lookup. So here, normally none is selected. You will want to select Pali to English. You can also activate the Chinese English, and then you can choose the script for the Pali text. So let's choose. First of all, let's choose the side-by-side view. So now you can see, because I have activated the Pali lookup, wherever I go with my mouse, a translation will pop up. Even compound words many times work, so they get separated into the compounds. Then, as I said, you can also change the font. So here, please understand, Latin means Latin font or Roman font. I just want to say that there has been some confusion, especially among the Myanmar students here at the university. Usually people say this is English Pali, but this is not English. The English people do not own this alphabet. This alphabet was initially invented by the Romans, so that's why we call this the Latin alphabet and Latin Pali. So if I say Roman Pali, I mean Pali in Roman script. If I say English, I mean English language. Okay, so for example, you can use the Myanmar font for the Pali, and then you have something like this. Sometimes it takes a moment to load. Now it shows everything, and the dictionary also works, even if you look at it in Pali, in Myanmar. The next function here is line by line. So each sentence is, or a paragraph is connected with its translation directly. So this is also a nice way to read and compare the English to the Pali. And then another function which I like very much is the pop-up function. So if you're just reading a text in English and then you might wonder, oh, what's this, like what's the root word here? What was the Pali from which this translation comes? So then you can just go with your mouse on the paragraph and the Pali, the original Pali of that sentence will directly come up. So this is also a very nice tool. And another function of this website is the parallels function. So after you checked out these text settings, you can go here, view parallels and references. So here you have the other translations. If you're online, you can use them. You can see other translations, and you can have the Pali here, and then here are the parallels. So now DN1 stands for Digha Nikaya 1, which is the Brahmajala Sutta that we are reading right now, Brahmajala Sutta. And here you can see which other kind of suttas as well as sutras. So this website also includes other texts. So one of the aims of this website actually was to create resources for comparative study. So if you open any of the Pitakas, then here you have the different Nikayas, so long, middle, linked, etc., Digha, Majjhima, and so on. And then here you can see Digha Nikaya, that's for the Pali, PL stands for Pali, and then LZH stands for Chinese. So here you have Chinese agamas from the Chinese Tripitaka. And in the same way there are other agamas and other texts from other languages. So if you go here, then you can read Chinese texts. And here in the parallels you can see where this text, the Digha Nikaya 1, so the Brahmajala Sutta, has references or similarities with other kind of suttas, whether Pali suttas, for example here Majjhima Nikaya 36, the Mahasachaka Sutta has a similarity with the Brahmajala Sutta in some respects, but also Chinese texts. So here you can see, for example, the net of Brahma, Dirghagama 21. So we will have a look at it later. I'll just say that this is not only referring to just a whole sutta, but even subsections of the suttas, even such detailed things such as one paragraph of the sutta is mentioned in another sutta. So here, for example, in the Milinda Panya, we have a reference that corresponds with the section number 7 of Digha Nikaya. Here, if you click on it, it will bring us down to that section. Sorry, now I messed it up. So if we just click on it, it should bring us to that section in the Pali text. It doesn't do. Okay, it doesn't do right now, but you can also find it by yourself in one way, by adding the textual information. If you add the textual information, then you see how it's numbered. So here Sutta central numbering is here, 8, 9, 10, etc. And section number 7 here, now it has been highlighted. This is the one that was mentioned here. Digha Nikaya 1.7 now has been highlighted, Sutta central numbering 7, and this has a direct reference in the Milinda Panya, in the Varnabhanana Panya. So in the same way, other sections have other references with other suttas. So like here, Samanapala Sutta has a reference with this section. So now let's have a look, for example, at the Chinese one. So either you can open it just right here. So let's just click on it. It will open the Chinese sutra. Now you can see Dirghagama number 21. In the Pali Pitaka it was Digha Nikaya 1. Here it's Dirghagama 21. And this is Chinese. We have also activated the Chinese dictionary lookup. But you can also see there are also other translations. So you can have Vietnamese or English. So we can also see this sutta, the sutra, in English translation. So for the Chinese sutras, there are not many English translations. I mean, there are some, but mostly, if you know Vietnamese, you will be more lucky, because these most of the Chinese sutras are also translated into Vietnamese. So now this is just a nice tool for doing comparative studies. So if you want to compare how did the Chinese tradition preserve this sutta, the Brahmajala Sutta, and how is the difference, how is the similarities. Actually, it's very similar. You will see all the different sections are kind of the same, and then you can compare. So if you want to compare it, you can also open the Brahmajala Sutta, for example, right click on it, open in another in a new Sutta Central window. So now it opens here in another window, and we can put this by dragging the top window bar, dragging it to the side. It will open in half of the screen, and then we can put the other one in the other half, and now we have the, let's choose the English translation, and now we have the Chinese sutra side by side with the Pali Sutta, both in English translation, which is a very nice way to read them comparatively. Okay, so we have shown the specialities of this website, which are especially the side-by-side view, line-by-line view, which is mainly possible because Venerable Sujato, in his translations, has linked all the paragraphs and all the sentences with the Pali, so that we can have everything linked and can have sentence by sentence the translation. Now this brings us to the next one, the Sutta Central Legacy website. This is a old version of the Sutta Central website. So while here we have side by side and like sentence by sentence, one of the limitations of this one is, as I mentioned earlier, that at the moment you can only have suttas for offline usage and only one language at a time. So this is a certain limitation. I think the Vinaya will be made available probably in the next year or a few years, because Venerable Brahmali, he's translating at this moment, retranslating the whole Vinaya Pitaka. So I'm confident that this will be made available. The Vinaya will also be made available maybe in the next 1 or 2 years or something. So, but as a compared to this limitation, the old version of the website has the benefit that in all the 3 sections, Sutta, Vinaya and Abhidhamma, are all available for offline, as well as all the translations that are included in this website. I say those that are included in this website because, as I said, this is an old version of the website, and it doesn't include all of the translations that we find here. So sometimes, I will show later, sometimes it doesn't have the English translation for offline. It gives you a link, but it doesn't have it offline. So in that case, it is a certain limitation, but the benefit is that we have all kinds of languages and all kinds of translations for offline usage. So if we open Sutta or Vinaya, any kind of the Pitakas, then we see it's classified into the different languages. So you have these are related with the Pali Sutta Pitaka, and then we have the Chinese Agama, Sanskrit, even Gandhari texts. And let's, for example, open this Brahmajala Sutta. And by default, it will open the Pali text. So you can see the Pali text, and then here we can see there's a menu button, when you open this, here you have these three tabs. So navigation, metadata, you can see who wrote this. Then navigation is where you can navigate the different sections of the sutta, as well as you can choose the different languages. So now here you see we have many different languages, many resources for different languages. And here in the controls you can also change, for example, the Pali font. You can change it to Myanmar Pali font, and you can also activate a dictionary lookup again. So when this is enabled, then you close the menu bar, and then again you just hover the mouse over the words and a dictionary will pop up. If we go to the English, so now you can see the English translation. So one of the differences is that here you had this function for side-by-side view, but we don't have this function in the legacy website. So even though we don't have it natively, like all those connected and inside the website, we can use the function of our browser, so of our Windows. We can just use that function. So for example, now we have the English opened. Let's right click on the Pali and open link in new window. So now you can just, you see, by dragging here in the top bar, you can drag this window to the side, then it will open in half of the screen, and you can open the other one in the other half, and now you have English and Pali side by side, and you can also read it simultaneously in this way. Alright, so one thing I want to say here is that especially in the Majjhima Nikaya, many of the suttas do not have an English translation in this old version of the website. So, for example, I remember the Latukikopama Sutta. When I open it, it does not have the English translation. So in this case, what you want to do is you would like to use the Access to Inside Archive. So the Access to Inside Archive, it also has many sutta translations. So in this case, for example, we have Majjhima Nikaya 66. So in Access to Inside, we can navigate in different ways, whether by sutta name or subject, or in other ways. And we can also navigate by the Nikaya. So let's go to the Majjhima Nikaya, and let's just scroll down until 66, and we will see here Latukikopama Sutta, and then we have the English translation here. So that's one of the benefits of having both the Access to Inside and the Sutta Central Archive, so that whatever translations are missing here, you might find them here in the Access to Inside website. Okay, the next thing I will show you is the PolyDeclension tool. So it also just opens in your browser. I already explained briefly in the installation video. I already explained briefly. You can use the Weltius system for writing Pali diacritics in the given way here, or you can just use your Pali keyboard. If you watch the video of the installation, then you will also know how to install a Pali keyboard on your computer. So let's just try it out once again. Any noun will give us a declension on one side of the page, and on the other side you have some dictionaries, Chinese dictionaries, and in the bottom there are also English dictionary translations. So in the case of verbs, bhasadi, it will give us the conjugation in all different tenses, and in case of pronouns, it can also give us declensions and all kinds of interesting informations. So this is a small but very handy tool. Then the next one, let's go to the Chatta Sanggayana, the Tipitaka app. So as I mentioned already in the installations video, in order to run this one, if you just run it by like this, it won't work. Before you want to run it, you have to open this server. So let's open it, and then once this green font appears, then you can start opening it and it will work. So basically here you have the navigation for the Pitakas and for the Anya section and for the Atagatas and Tikas, and in order to open, you just click on it and you can just select any kind of place, and then you can click on the words and it will give you the translations. So I will show you how to activate different kinds of translations. So now I have here are the singular translations also activated. So here you have 3 different buttons. So if you go to the text, then you have your text. If you open any other text, it will open in a new tab. So when you go somewhere else, it won't go missing, it will always stay here, and you can access it easily. Here with these buttons you can go directly to the Atagata or the Tika, so this is also very handy. And then here in the settings you have different kinds of settings. There is an option for Sinhala, because this was made by a Sinhala supporter. I mean a Sri Lankan supporter. Then you can also change the font of the Pali. So now you can see the Pali font has changed. You can choose any kind of font you like. And then you can explore these different options. For example, if you prefer in white, you can do the light theme. Then multi-file tab, I suggest you use the tab view so that it will always be in different tabs here, and it will remain. You can also do columns to view things side by side. So now, for example, here we can have different sections side by side. Now if you have many open, it's not very handy, but if you have just 2 opened, then this is something that you can work with, where you can, for example, open the Mula in one page and then the Atakata in another tab, and then you can just see directly the Pali and the Atakata side by side. Then the next one, you can change the text size, and you have some other things here you can play around with. Then here you should understand this kind of symbol stands for the dictionary. This kind of symbol stands for the Suta titles. You can search for Suta titles, and this is for a full text search. So in the full text search here you can have more kind of options. If you search for something, then you can have different options here. In the full text search you have some options that you can search for the exact word, or for any kind of variations of the word. So if you want to search for bhikkhu exact word, it will only give you results for where it finds bhikkhu. If you say not exact word, then it will also give you results for bhikkhuno, bhikkhuna, bhikkhum, bhikkhumayo, etc. Another thing is you can show hide filters, so you can choose where you want to search, in which kind of Pitaka and in the Atatas, etc. Then the dictionary, you should understand in the dictionary you can activate more dictionaries. So now what I have here, for example, if we open English, then there are different kinds of English dictionaries. So now by default it's only this one is selected. You can add more dictionaries and it will give you many results for the English. The same thing you can do with the other languages. So there are 3 different Myanmar dictionaries, for example. So you have Myanmar results. Then there are Sinhala dictionaries. This is Bhante Siddhartha's laptop, so the Sinhala are activated. And also some Thai dictionaries, Chinese, Hindi, Indonesian, Spanish and Portuguese and Cambodian. So this can be useful to compare from different resources if you know other languages. Okay, so that's all I have to say about this app. In the installation video I also showed you how to install the Pali script converter. It's a very simple tool. Any kind of Pali text you can copy and you can insert in the Pali script converter, and you can change the font of the Pali into other languages. So this is not a translation, this is just to change the script of the Pali. Then the next one is the Digital Pāḻi Reader. So because this one is a bit more extensive, I'll make a separate video for this one. Also because many people will be just mainly interested in this one. So if you know any other functions for the apps that I explained, please feel free to let me know in the comments if I missed something. So you can also add these to your taskbar to easily access them. If I missed something, like any kind of special functions of this one, for example, please let me know in the comments, and then I can add these informations here for the benefit of many. So thank you for watching, and let me know if anything was unclear.